thank you to each one of you all for being here today. And thank you, hats off to the business world management. We could have easily done this virtually, right? And yet, on a public holiday, all of us, each one of us, has made the effort to be here. So brand it as resilience, whatnot, but thank you. No matter what the topic is today, there is nothing like an in-person meeting. You vouched for it. I can tell you, I've just come back from Cannes. I was on the Cannes jury. And this time around, as compared to the earlier experiences, we jury members were hugging each other. There were no handshakes. And it came automatically without even a thought. So call it humanity's reaction to what we underwent for the past 2 years, but there it was. The larger topic and the context, leadership. Leadership is a choice. Each one of us gets to make it every day. The world that we know is changing far, far more rapidly than we've ever experienced. So we have a choice, either to lead it or perhaps simply follow. The metaverse that we are supposedly going to discuss this afternoon is one such choice. Do we have all the answers yet? Bloody hell, no. Do we choose to lead it or do we simply follow? So what I'm going to do, and thank you, Sunil, thank you. It's not the easiest to be in Sunil's seat because we don't have all the answers yet.
Definitely, yes, Divya.
Right. But I am going to put him through the ringer with a couple of questions. And Sunil, if we don't know, we ask the audience, right? So there it is. Okay, so let's begin. What exactly is the metaverse? As simple as it gets.
To me, I think it's a whole world is actually looking at metaverse today, and what exactly is metaverse is future is going to tell. But I know one thing, like if you don't update yourself, you're going to be outdated. So metaverse is one thing which is, you need to update for the future and be future ready, and especially youth of today. People say it's a different world, but according to me, it's a different planet. It's not a world, it's going to be a different planet, and there are going to be a lot of aliens which we need to look at it. The different aliens would be there, different formations would be there, different avatar would be there, but that's going to be the future. And as Divya said, we don't have choice sometimes in life, and we need to follow or we need to lead the example. But as a leader, I feel you need to lead, and as I said, you need to update yourself, and metaverse is one thing which a lot of companies is going to update themselves and use in a best form in the marketing in future. That's what I feel so.
And if I may just add, what if we pivot the challenge into an opportunity?
There are a lot of opportunities which will be available. I come from a very different industry, which is a innerwear industry now. And like how I look at this metaverse as a challenge or opportunity which comes in is like, how do we launch? Because we have about 30,000 to 40,000 retailers across the country, and inviting them at one place becomes so difficult for us in a marketing terms or showcasing our product to them at one go. Now, when such kind of, opportunities are there in metaverse, like even if I had to do a fashion show, wherever they're sitting in the world, I can launch a product sitting in my office over there, and that's one of the opportunities what I can see. It could be used in a different field. Other way around, if I look at the factories, like, when we have factories in Tamil Nadu, we have factories in Calcutta, we have factories in Gujarat, and each factories are like 1,500 workers, because stitching is one area where you have a lot of, labor-oriented things, and, monitoring of factories sometimes also with a virtual world to a real-time data can be something which can be looked at. So I feel there are a lot of opportunities which can come from the metaverse on all fields, each departments. So I think world is going to be totally different in future. That's how I try to look at today.
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, while you were answering, the thoughts that were racing through my mind, I've been in media now for the past few decades. And there was a time when we first started where perhaps communication and media was a bit of a monologue. And then digital happened. What it accorded was an opportunity for an active dialogue with our consumers. Of course, marketeers scrambled some because they were not used to, because there were annual plans to be done, and then quarterly, and campaigns were planned way in advance. And here they were getting active feedback from the consumers. This one is perhaps revving it some more. It's beyond just a dialogue, an actual immersive experience, an opportunity to do that. So, coming to my next question. There's a lot of hype globally about this. I think Anurag spoke about the kind of investments going, and serious monies are going into this. Facebook itself has rebranded itself Meta. And then you had Microsoft stepping in with its acquisition and so on. And all this has happened, if you notice, even though this metaverse phrase, I believe, was coined way back in 1992, this has happened from December onwards. So look at the pace of change. What do you think is the reality? So globally, there is a lot of, and the moment you have this metaverse in your proposition, the investors are putting in serious money. What is the reality globally, in India as well?
I think acceptance in globally is much better than in India today, I would say. And that's a little bit to my surprise, because I was expecting Indian consumers, because they are more into technology, and the technologies comes from India, and I was expecting other way around. But to my surprise, I think India still needs some time to accept this thing. If I lead some examples, like when mobile came to India, accepted mobile faster than even Germany. But in this case, I'm seeing it other way around. Reasons unknown, because when I used to travel to Germany and the mobiles used to be, when we had that 16 rupees pay call incoming and outgoing, mobiles was very well accepted in India much more than Germany. But it's other way around. We'll come to know the future, the reasons. But definitely the investors who look for, they look for the future, and where the future lies is this kind of marketing which is going to come in Metaverse. So I think from investors' point of view, India still needs to, maybe the topic is still new, maybe the education and understanding for the Metaverse is also still new, and I think there are a lot of learnings. We are all learning in the same boat. It's not that someone can endorse today that he is an expert on Metaverse. None of us actually are, I would say very honestly that I'm not, but none of us today can endorse that he knows everything in Metaverse and what could be the future in Metaverse. Who knows that a Metaverse can develop a twin like me, and there could be another planet, and I can do multiple meetings at the same time. So at the moment I'm sitting here, but at the moment I might be with a Metaverse, I can be doing a work in my office too. So if this was been spoken, you said in 1992 it started, but if I give an example, like about the fiction in Steve Nelson's novel at that time, the fictions which he was creating, the person used to travel from one place to another, or Star Trek, people used to think that's all about fiction, but that's coming to reality today. You can actually do that, and Metaverse is, that's why I said it's a different planet, not just a world.
Right. Coming to India, and on behalf of India, if I may, that old Hindi movie dialogue, abhi picture baki hai, so let's watch the space. India perhaps has a habit of leapfrogging a rung or two, so there it is. Third question. We find that, marketeers, perhaps some of them, may well get accused of branding the metaverse as a young people's domain. What are your views? Is it true? And how do you see it evolving?
I feel yes, younger people are more acceptable to such kind of things, to the gadgets, to the electronic things and all. Because if you look at people of my age, even if they want to use a gadget, it takes some time. Mm-hmm. But I think youngsters, they get adapted to this kind of digitalization world faster. And even in companies' point of view, the India is a young country. The average population of India is 27 years of age. And I think acceptance has to be much more better than what it is today. And I think there is a future. Definitely, the youngsters are going to accept this in future. It's a bit slow at the moment, I would say, because I think there is slight resistance or maybe lack of knowledge, which could be possibility for understanding this and taking it forward. And of course, maybe the cost, which can be also the important part to market it. So these will be the factors which will be challenges, which will be definitely there. But maybe the future lies in metaverse and marketing, and the young population is going to accept more than the older age group, I would speak.
I agree. There is going to be a demographic tailwind, and which perhaps will be the catalyst, the impetus, call it what you may, in the adoption of this going forward.
But if I add to this one more example, like even the young generation, like they are coming back into the businesses because of all this digitalization. The interest levels has gone up, and I see, because when I travel across the country, and I used to see the second generation or third generation used to not come into the business, and they always wanted to do something different. But all this kind of technology or the digitalization is bringing and making the business in a totally different world. And the way of doing business, which we used to say, the wholesale kind of business is turning on to a digitalization. In our field, like we had seen field assist software, we can track people where they're traveling. And in Metaverse, I think we can actually see and travel to the people sitting at one place. So.
One more added question to this one. Apart from this demographic tailwind that we have, what are the other catalysts that, to your mind, will fuel the adoption of Metaverse? What do we need to watch out for that, to your mind, will be a barometer that it's getting a wider acceptance?
I think one is definitely, I said, cost would be one factor which would be there, how to best possible way we should travel and at what cost. Another factor which could be, it should be used the right way. It should not, like replace people's job or something, which could be the worrisome factor, but it should add their value in doing jobs in a much better way, rather than, as I said, the twins, creating my twins and working 3 times or 4 times can be something which can be looked at, but it should not replace a lot of jobs which are there. Today we have a mop which can swap all the machine, and it got created. So it should not create that some people are losing job because of the technology. And I think that factor has been taken care, then the world is going to be totally different, and there is no end. What we can even visualize today, I would say.
Okay. So again, another part 3 of the same question. The Gen Z have been accused of perhaps being so conscious that they would perhaps value their avatars with as much seriousness as they would themselves in the physical world. Do you think that's a reality or a fad?
I think Gen Z is completely different how they behave. I remember in our childhood days, we used to never say this word, bore ho raha hai. And we used to, spend a lot of time physically playing, physically watching out. During those days, there used to be only one channel, one television. There used to be one news channel. Today, after having so many multiple things, multiple channels, multiple gadgets, what they are playing with, still they are, always changing something, and still the word comes in bore ho raha hai in the house. And this Gen Z is totally a different breed, and I think they are going to be fast changing, technology driven. And yes, there will be, adapting this metaverse fast and accepting this metaverse fast, and even the changes in the metaverse, I think, is going to be faster in that terms once they pick up. So I think it is a moment that this Gen Z gets into this and accept these things, and I think the world will see the difference.
Right. I think it's going to catch fire.
Definitely. Yes.
We've all, as practitioners, heard about the fact that Gucci sold their brand at a huge, as in a couple of their items, at a huge delta. And why was it bought? It was bought for their avatars, right? Similarly, as a novice gamer, and I call myself a novice gamer, where's the time? As much as I am not into cryptocurrency and so on and so forth, perhaps someday I will. I may even want to buy a piece of land in the sandbox. I find myself collecting tokens, and I do it with a vengeance, because when I win the game, I like to collect that. So in some ways, I'm laughing, almost observing my own behavior, and I'm certainly not Gen Z, and I'm observing that how I love to collect that token, which currently is at 4,100 whatnot, having won the games. I keep a tab. So as human beings and in that virtual world, so come to my next question. As a brand custodian, we had our normal past 2 decades, what the comms landscape was. And then we got into the digital era, where I spoke about active dialogue with the consumer. Now we have this metaverse on the horizon, perhaps already here in many ways. We spoke about this being perhaps an opportunity. How should we go about trying to step into that opportunity? We may not know the full terrain. To your mind, what should be the first few initial steps that you would perhaps advise any marketer, and it will vary by category, that one should take?
I think a lot of brands are already, like if I take Mahindra with, they are already making a lounge out of it with a meta tech. So I think from category to category, it might slightly differ, but I think displaying the product could be one areas which could be way. As I said, to my mind, it always comes like, I said, it is a difficulty of showing a product to 30,000 customers at a time. And I think this is a best opportunity if it comes in. How do we brand and showcase a product? Because sometimes it becomes difficult even for doing multiple cities and launching a product with the fashion shows and moving across the country. So and at one time gathering so many people, there is nothing which we can gather so many places. So I think displaying the product catalogs to in a 3-dimension way, in a real-time thing, which can be showed to them, could be very interesting as a first step. Next step is, live reaching to the retail counters. If you're able to visualize the retail counters and the connectivity to the brands directly, that could be also interesting thing which can come into the way the metaverse can grow in. So it could be endless. I would say if we start going out, I think step by step, every day would be the learning session to move ahead. And I think every day is going to be different today.
Agreed, completely. So now I'm going to, with your permission, open the questions to the floor. I'm going to invite anybody and everybody, whoever may have a question or two. Would you like to address them to Sunil?
Actually talk to you about Metaverse. Say if you have 100 clients, which is more like, or maybe more. And second, is there a percentage of spend in Metaverse versus digital? The average is 20% digital. Of course, some brands, some categories have more or less. So is there a kind of thumb rule on how much they're spending on Metaverse or experimenting?
Couple of things. Yes, all our marketeers are, and we actively engage with them, but apportioning a percentage perhaps would not be right before we step into the space. We are a little ahead of the curve as far as dentsu, as far as the industry is concerned. So our digital percentage is a notch or two higher than 50%. Now, having said that, we have stepped into this metaverse space. I'll give you an example. We had Heineken Silver launch in the metaverse. Now, Heineken Silver, for everybody in this room, is a new launch beer brand. It's a light beer from the Heineken stable. Now, of course, we talk about experience in the metaverse. You can't really imbibe Heineken in the metaverse. But what it did enable us to do is share the fact that we were launching the brand, share the fact that how is that Heineken silver brewed as compared to any other beer or any other Heineken brand. So given our Gen Z, given our consumers, it enabled our Heineken to impart that immersive experience that perhaps other media or platforms may not have been able to. And we made fun of ourselves also there, because that is where it is. So Metaverse is something that we need to explore, but the old tenets of marketing also stay kayam. You can't, so there has to be true value. You have to deliver authenticity. All that is there. And yet you have to rev it up some more, which is exactly what we did. So we made fun of ourselves there. We said, look, you can't taste it, but here is how we bring it to you, and so on. So, Anurag, I hope it explains what we've done, but it's an evolving space. And like Sunil said, each category will have a different opportunity or two or three. And I would say that, we step into it, we learn. It's not, you may falter some, learn from that, and then again, step back. So it's exciting. It's exciting. You asked about the percentage, and here I want to call out to everybody in this room. I think we practitioners sometimes do ourselves an injustice. And I'm calling out to marketeers as well as media. We put things in silos where perhaps there shouldn't be. True optimization happens totally, not in silos. So that's a limited point on whenever I find a metric of X percentage on digital or Y percentage on TV. So that's the...
I wanted to understand exactly, according to you, since you are ahead of the curve at dentsu with the meta world, which industries do you believe will go through a 360 or 180 degree transformation because of the metaverse coming in? For one, if I were to give you an example, I believe the events industry would have to completely rethink their strategy for existence. Are there any other industries that come at the top of your mind, which or kind of companies who would probably face a transformative experience imbibing the metaverse? Should it become more than a fad?
All, some more than others, you're right. Sunil, would you like to take a stab at it?
I think from what I feel is any industry can actually look into this. It's not an industry specific thing which will be there. It's how far you are taking metaverse in future. If some of the technologists who are sitting here, my thought process is if you are able to give touch and feel and smell also in metaverse, I don't know how far the metaverse can go tomorrow. If I'm able to, what I'm visualizing today, and if you're able to sit and even have a touch and feel, which we might feel today a little bit odd that this is not possible. We might say like that, it is not possible, how that could be possible. But like how Shrikant mentioned during 83 World Cup, that Kapil Dev believed that we are going to win the World Cup, and same thing can happen in metaverse. If someone believes and someone has a passion of going to the extent what they are going to, I think sitting here and if I want to feel the fabric, how it's having that, the metaverse, any industry can go in that far.
Industries that come to my mind, gaming, no brainer. You mentioned events, fashion. Again, you see yourself. You may have a real avatar, or this Divya may want to choose to have an avatar which is herself 20 years ago, who knows, and so on. And so on and so forth. So there would be. I just recently came across another marketeer who actually was into apps delivery. And the way they combine stepping into this virtual world with the physical world, and it paid dividend. So you'll have some expected, some, to Sunil's point, the other. So it would almost be all, depending on how you spot the sweet spot and pivot on it.